I felt like I had to address this one. I am Asian American. But as I continue to delve into the spiritual and formless, I am challenged with disidentifying with my cultural group that I've been born into. Could you offer insight and help with this spiritual process? This is challenging to overcome. Really, all conditioning is challenging to overcome. And it seems like our culture, I know for myself, I'm Asian Canadian or Chinese Canadian, born in Canada, second generation. My father was born in Canada, but his family left during the Depression to go back to China because they thought it was hard here. And so it was difficult to grow up in two different cultures. In a way, my family was traditional, but not really traditional. Chinese. And, you might get a laugh out of this. Those who are Asian and born in North America, or the Western culture, just could be Europe as well, were known as bananas. Yellow on the outside and white on the inside. So I grew up speaking Chinese, but because there was very few Chinese at that time when I was growing up, I was teased a lot. So I had decided from a very young age to drop the language. And what's interesting is how much I wanted to run away from my own culture. I didn't want to be Chinese. I couldn't. I wanted to be accepted and fit in to the Western world. But then, as I delved into the spiritual dimension, I realized I don't even want to be Western at all anyways, or Chinese. It's like, who am I? I'm not this. I'm not the Western culture. I'm not even the Asian culture. But yet there's beautiful, beautiful, what can you say? Patterns of behavior or the culture can be quite beautiful. The Asian culture actually can be quite beautiful. The spiritual Asian culture is very beautiful. So I found that it's not about letting go of either culture, but recognizing that I am not any of it, but yet can still live and move and do some of the actions that the culture might have taken on over many generations. And when we are on this spiritual path, do we literally need to eventually give up everything? And it's not giving up in the sense of rejection. It's giving up in the sense of acceptance of all things, but attachment to none. So not identifying with any of it, but you could still do some of the Asian cultural things, or the Western cultural things, or wherever you're from. And it could be quite beautiful. It's not our actions that show us the dimension of stillness, but it's what's inside, internally, what we know and what we feel and what we sense and what we can include with no judgment of any culture. And yes, we may say, some of them, but wait a second here. What about some of that cultural stuff? And we've all gone, and every culture has gone through it, including the Western culture. And that could be, say, for example, women. The difficulties and that women have had in having to then come out and not be suppressed. So every culture has its suppression. And coming into our spiritual essence and living as a spiritual being, a human being, is that we transcend all things that will suppress us and condition us. Everything. It doesn't mean, if you choose, for example, a woman who wants to stay home and raise their children. It's not a problem. Before, it was like, this is what they did. And now it's a choice. And even when it's a choice, we transcend any identification of being anything. So we have certain roles that we play. There's mother, there's father, so there's the parent role. There's the your work, whatever your work is, that role. But those are just roles and functions, which is needed as a temporary form. Because eventually our children grow up and we can't, deal with them the same way when they were little. So we have to give up that role. Some parents don't. And some children don't give up their role. They continue being children, right? And going home and wanting something from mom and dad or something. So it's finding the beauty in the arising differences in the cultural differences. With love, not with judgment, but with love and acceptance. And knowing that perhaps there are going to be some cultures where, it's kind of like behind in the times. And recognizing that we were once there. And this is the evolution of human consciousness that I see that's happening, is that each part of the world is evolving. Is it slow? Is it fast? Don't know. Really, the mind likes it to be quicker or slower, depending on whether you are in that mode of resistance or anticipation. You can't wait